Sri Visnu-sahasranama, name 948, is Bhima. So today we're going to be talking about Bhima. You all know very well who Bhima is, the famous Pandava, who is, by his personality, was terrible to the enemies and took pleasure in being terrible. Bhima means terrible, frightful. It's the name of Vishnu also. When we think of Bhima, we think of the Pandava, Bhima, the second son of Pandu. But as with many names, the original name belongs to Vishnu. But because Bhima is such a dear devotee of Vishnu, we hear a lot about him also. And he is known, the Pandava is better known by the name Bhima. But Vishnu is also frightful, terrible, fear-inspiring. That is one of the qualities of God. In our Gauriya Sampradaya, we don't emphasize that so much, but God means the boss. He's in charge. He's on top. And for those who don't follow him, then Bhi, the name is derived from Bhi, which Bhiti, which has the same meaning as Bhayam, fear. So, to those who turn away from him, he is the cause of fear. This name came previously in the 39th verse at name 359, and it's been discussed there to quite some extent. So if you like, you can refer back to that talk. He's the controller. Control means there's an element of fear. Do this or else. But in the case of his devotees, he controls them in the matter of, just out of their devotion, they submit to him, and in that way he controls them, not out of fear. It's an exchange of love, and he lets himself be controlled by devotees who are completely dedicated to him. But there are other devotees also who are not on the fully perfect platform, that's within this world, who, they also worship him and obey him, but they're not completely pure in heart, and they have other desires also, and they obey him not only out of love, but there's a strong admixture of fear of the consequences of not obeying him. Fear God. I used to hear in my childhood, in my Christian upbringing, fear the Lord, otherwise you'll be punished severely, which is a fact, but at least in the Gauriya tradition, the emphasis is more on do what he wants because that's pleasing to him. There are many references in Shastra which say that the whole creation is going on, the demigods in charge of the elements, in charge of the planets, in charge of various functions within the universe. They obey him out of fear, because he's terrible, he's Bhima, he's fear-inspiring. In this regard, we can quote, there are many, many such quotes from Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 9, 21, in which the demigods say, Vaivambaragnyap kshitayas triloka brahmadeyo ye vayam udvijantaha harama yasmai balimanta kausau bibheti yasmad aranang tatonaha. The three worlds are created by the five elements, namely ether, air, fire, water, and earth, which are controlled by various demigods beginning from Lord Brahma. being very much afraid that the time factor will end our existence, we offer up presentations unto time by performing our work as time dictates. The time factor himself, however, is afraid of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, let us now worship that Supreme Lord who alone can give us full protection. In the current instance of the name Bhima, Parashara Bhatta stresses another aspect of his being frightful by his punishing the jivas who refuse to follow the path of dharma prescribed in the Shastra. He forcibly pushes them into another birth, or into hell, or wherever, but another birth. Every birth is frightful. This is the world of fear. However, whatever he does, even the apparent punishment or inspiring fear in them, is ultimately for the benefit of the conditioned soul, so that the conditioned soul can take cognizance of his situation and correct himself and have another opportunity in another birth. And, as Parashara Bhatta points out, the Supreme Lord only treats the conditioned souls in a fearful manner when they do not take shelter of the mercy that he wishes to give them. Maha anugraha vimukhanam bhimaha. His great mercy, those who are inimical to accepting that, to such persons he is Bhima, terrible. Parashara Bhatta, to support this, gives a verse from the Bhagavad Gita referring to the demons. Tanaham dvishata kruran samsareshu naradhaman kshipyam yajasram ashubhan asurishveva yonishu. Krishna says, those who hate me, dvishataha, those who hate me, Krishna says, I repeatedly throw them into the cycle of birth and death, into demoniac wombs, for they are cruel, unholy, and demons, the worst among men. And again, remember that Parashara Bhatta is describing this long series of names in terms of the reason for the Supreme Lord's appearance in this world and all his actions within it or in relation to it. His being Bhima, or the cause of fear to the non-devotees, and his giving punishment to them for their sinful activities, their adharmic activities against the codes of dharma, is to maintain order within the universe, to protect his devotees, and to help the recalcitrant jivas so that in due course of time they can come to their senses, correct themselves, and attain him. Shankaracharya gives a similar meaning, Bhaya hetudvat bhima, he who is the cause of fear. We say someone's fearful, fear is in the mind. What is the cause of that fear? That is Bhima. Shankaracharya gives support from the Kathopanishad, Mahadbhayam Vajra Mudyatam. He is like an uplifted thunderbolt. He inspires great fear, just like someone holds they're raising their weapon to a thunderbolt, terrible weapon. So if you raise that against someone, it causes Mahadbhayam, great fear. Previously, Shankaracharya, in the occurrence of this name, Shankaracharya interpreted it as Abhima, one who causes no fear. So he is Abhima, he is the cause of, he causes no fear to those who follow the path of Dharma, but to those who try to defy him by not following the path of Dharma, he is Bhima, the cause of great fear. Radha Krishna Shastri gives the following support for the name Abhima and Bhima. Bhishnam Abhishanam. This is from Nrsimha Uttara Upanishad. So he is frightful and not frightful, both. And this is from Nrsimha Uttara. So definitely Nrsimha was a cause of terror to Hiranyakashipu, but he wasn't at all frightful for Prahlad. Rather, Prahlad's name, which means great pleasure, became fulfilled on the appearance of Nrsimhadev, or even before that by his absorption in Krishna consciousness. There are many, many examples in Shastra of the fearfulness inspired by the Supreme Lord. For instance, Arjuna says to Krishna, when Krishna exhibits his Vishvarupam, his universal form, Drishvad bhutam rupam ugram tavedam lokatrayang pravyatitang mahatman. O great one, seeing this wondrous and terrible form, all the planetary systems are perturbed. Alternative interpretations from Satyasanda Tirtha, Brita maha pramanani tena vyasadi rupena iti bhima. In his appearance as Vedavyas, he, Vishnu, established the authorities in the form of the Vedas, and so he is called Bhima. Bhyam bhakta bhayam minati hinasti iti bhimaha. He is called Bhima because he destroys the fear of his devotees. Here taking fear, but he destroys the fear of his devotees and saves them. Bhima, if we take the understanding, bhati, illumination, he produces illumination. That's another possible unpacking. And also Sava Prani Niyamaka. He is the one who impels all living beings to do what they have to do. He's as if behind them. So that's another understanding of the name Bhima. Baladev Vidyabhushan is explaining this series of names in terms of Vrindavan Leela, and especially within that set of names he's describing in terms of Vrindavan Leela, there's a subset in which he's discussing about Rasa Leela in Govardhan and how Shankachura came. So Baladev Vidyabhushan explains Bhima, terrific, fearful, because when Shankachura was carrying away Krishna's beloved gopis, he became terrifying to Shankachura. He was charming to the gopis and Bhima, terrifying to Shankachura. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Dante nidhaya churnakang padiyo nipatya kritvacha kaku shatam etad aham bravimi. Hey sadhava sakala eva vihaya durad goranga chandra charane kurutanuraga. Parivadatu jano yata tatava nanamukaro navayang vichariyamaha. Harirasa madhira madati matta bhuvi vilutama nartama nirvishama. Shantakaram bhujagashayanam padmanabham suresham vishwadharang gaganasadrisham meghavarnam shubhangam lakshmi kantam Vishuddham Kamalanayanam Yogi Bhidhyanagamyam Vande Vishnum Bhavabhayaharam Sarvalokaikanaatham Jayati Janani Vaso Devaki Janmavado Yaduvara Parishat Swadhorbir Asyan Adharmam Sthirachara Vrijana Gana Susmita Srimokena Vrajapuravanithanam Vardhayan Kamadevam Bahapirang Natavaravapu Karnayo Karnikaram Bibradvasa Kanaka Kapisham Vaijayantim Chamalam Randhran Veno Adhara Sudaya Purayan Gopa Vrindaranyam Swapadaramanam Pravishad Gita Kirtihi Sri Radhaya Pranayamahima Kidrisho Vanayaiva Svadyo Yenadbhuta Madhurima Kidrisho Vamadiyaha Sokyang Chasya Madanubhavata Kidrisham Veti Lobhat Tadbhavardhya Samajani Shachigarbha Sindho Harinduhu Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama